I filed Senate Bill number 1610 and 1653, namely the Free Legal Education Act of 2023 and the Revised Legal Education Reform Act, not only to strengthen our country's legal education, but ultimately to improve everyone's access to quality justice, lalo-lalo ng mga ating mga mahihirap na kababayan. In 2017, Congress enacted the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act, but it excluded graduated degrees such as medicine and law from its coverage. Kaya po tayo nagkaroon ng Doktor para sa Bayan Act. Kung meron tayong doktor para sa bayan, bakit hindi tayo magkaroon ng abogado para sa bayan? Senate Bill number 1610 establishes free legal education program in our state universities and colleges. Under this bill, all qualified Filipino students who are taking up or will take up law in SUCs shall be exempt from paying tuition and other school fees. In return, they will be required to render service in the public attorney's office or any government agencies for that matter, lacking lawyers as may be determined by the Free Legal Education Board or LEB. Sa ganitong pamamaraan, matutulungan po natin ng mga Pilipinong nangangarap maging abogado at sila naman ay makakatulong sa ating mga kababayang nangangailangan ng hustisya. To effectively implement this program, I also filed Senate Bill 1653, which aims to strengthen the LEB, which will then be called the Commission on Legal Education. Under this bill, the LEB will be empowered with broadened authority and functions and a much-needed budgetary autonomy. It will no longer be attached to the CHED for budgetary purposes. This way, I highly expect the LEB or LEB to realize its full potential and uplift the quality of our legal education to long overdue educational reforms and pedagogical improvements. Ang hilingin ko lang po sana ay commitment from the LEB na makatulong sila para dumami ang mahusay nating mga abogado nang sa gayon ay hindi na mahirapan ang ating mga kababayan na humanap ng hustisya. In other words, I'm hoping that these bills will result in better access to quality justice for everyone. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Tulfo. Earlier, we referred to a technical working group, the Free Legal Education Bill that you filed, in order to find out exactly how much we need to fund this, given that SHED said they no longer have any funds sufficient to add scholarships under the UNIFAS Act. So in order to determine how much is needed, we assigned it to a technical working group with a corresponding direction to report back to the committee, and so far as their findings are concerned. May we proceed to Senate Bill number 1653 on the Legal Education Board? Earlier, Senator Tulfo, Justice Villanueva, the Court Administrator of the Supreme Court, gave two very brief comments regarding the bills. Number one, the board should have an odd number, not an even number. He therefore suggests the creation of a vice chairman or vice president. Number two, that emphasis should be placed on the development of the Sharia law in the country, particularly in Muslim Mindanao. May we hear from the Legal Education Board your comments with respect to this bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, we'd like to manifest our appreciation for this, for the honorable chairperson and members of this committee for giving us the opportunity to present our side on this bill. We are profoundly grateful as well to the Honorable Senator Raffy Tulfo for accommodating, for sponsoring this bill on our behalf. The RA 7662 was enacted in 1993. Since then, there have been serious changes in legal education, in the landscape of legal education. There's also been the case of Pimentel versus Legal Education Board, wherein the Supreme Court has struck down some of the provisions in the current RA 7662, some for being unconstitutional, some for being ultra vires, and that's why the amendment of these provisions is very much needed. There's also a provision therein that the LEB shall be attached to the Commission on Higher Education for budgetary purposes and also for administrative support. But given the many schools that the CHED that the CHED has to attend to, it has not been very attentive to the needs of the Legal Education Board. So for the most part, that would be the core of our proposed, of our support for the proposed amendments of Senator Raffy Tulfo. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ma'am, did this bill come from you? Did the draft come from the Legal Education Board?
Yes, Mr. Chair, yes.
Can you discuss changes to your version?
Okay. Well, first of all, with respect to the composition of the board, there should be, I think it was mentioned by Justice Villanueva that there should be a vice chair, but we didn't have that in our proposal. With respect to the term of the chairperson and members of the board, it is currently for 5 years without eligibility for reappointment under the bill being proposed. There is an eligibility for one reappointment, at most one reappointment.
You agree with that?
I would agree with that, Your Honor, because there are many programs, many changes in the way that the Legal Education Board supervises law schools, and it would be good if we could see these changes take effect.
So babawasan natin o dadagdagan natin in order to make it an odd number?
Nadagdagan po.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a
Senator
question?
Tulfo is recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. What challenges usually do you encounter being an attached agency of CHED, especially in terms of budgetary?
Our budget, really the budget being assigned to us by the Department of Budget and Management on the basis of the presentations of CHED has been very minuscule. There was a year, I think this was in 2016, where we received a budget of 5.4 million pesos from the DBM. And for the many years, we've been receiving on the average 20 million pesos, and that is really very, very insignificant. I think insignificant is not even the word for us to survive as the agency supposedly in charge of monitoring and supervising legal education. We have received a letter sent by the CHED to Chair Popoy Villanueva del Rosario, and we were furnished a copy of that letter. And therein, the DBM said that we are identified as a program of CHED, specifically development of excellence centers. That is why the budget assigned to us is always small.